हाल चाल बढ़िया. So कल लास्ट क्लास का रीड किया. I hope you guys are reading. So I mean whatever we do after the class, it's better you revise that at home on the very same day or at least the next day, because what happens otherwise is things get accumulated, and at a later stage when you pick up, you know that we had studied this but you don't remember. You remember that that concept had been explained in class and I understood at that point of time also, but again you will not remember it, and I don't think you have access to the videos or something, right? So then it becomes a problem. So make sure you revise this, whatever we are doing. Although this is all basic stuff, you will still remember, but it's better that you revise. But in optional it becomes very important that whenever you are attending your optional classes, make sure you're devoting at least 1.5 hours every day to revising your optional stuff. And it would not be actually a bad idea to, read the notes also before you are going for the class or prepare for the topic which in the next class has to be taken, because then you are almost ahead of the class. And if you are really aiming to clear the exam in the first attempt, it is very important that you are revising and reading and are following, and in fact you are ahead of the class by one step. ठीक है, otherwise भी होगा but थोड़ा time लगेगा. But if you are really aiming to do it in your first go only, which should ideally be your plan, then I think this should be the approach, right? And a lot of people come and ask me अभी that sir mains का पढ़ना चाहिए, prelims का पढ़ना चाहिए, interview का पढ़ना चाहिए, medical का पढ़ना चाहिए. So अभी पढ़ो तो. I mean you just started your preparation, why you want to segregating it? First read things, right? अभी पहले modern India पढ़ोगे, you'll read geography, you'll read polity, you'll read economy, you'll read environment, then only you'll get to know okay what comes in prelims, what comes in mains, you'll scan the papers, right? But for writing answers you need to have some fodder material with you. Abhi what kind of answers you'll write? You don't know much, right? To write a good answer writing skills come at a very later stage, right? People say we don't have the answer writing skills. Like answer writing skill ke liye knowledge bhi to chahiye. That knowledge will come after you prepare, after you study. Okay, once you remember things. Just reading things once, you just read one chapter and now you want to do answer writing, and answer writing also previous year UPSC mains questions, and then you get super demotivated because obviously you can't write anything in those answers. I mean even if you self-evaluate them you'll realize ये तो बहुत ही बेकार था. But that's how it is. I mean you will evolve that way only, but my advice to you would be never go unprepared for a test. Don't give a test, okay? But if you're giving a test, be prepared for it. Doesn't mean कि देने ही नहीं आए, ये बोल दिया था class में. Always be prepared for a test, and whenever you're doing some answer writing practice, have sufficient knowledge before you attempt that thing. So at least in the first 3-4 months of your preparation, try to focus more on accumulation of knowledge, okay? Like for first good 4, 5, 6 months should be there. It should, however intelligent you are, it will take you at least 5 to 6 months, at least with minimum 2 to 3 readings of almost everything to start to have a hold on the subjects and to have a holistic knowledge. Because most of the mains question will not be based on one subject or one concept. They will be based on at least 2 to 3 concepts. Right now when I read your answers, the problem is whatever the question on NGO is, you will, or any topic is, you will write whatever given is in the class notes, and it's not your fault because that's the only knowledge you are having. So start reading things on your own also, whatever you're finding in the newspaper. Try to brainstorm, okay? Because as I had discussed previously also, things will not always be in your comfort zone. So try attempting questions or think, okay, what all points can be there. If as a layman I wanted to attempt this question, what all points could I have? But at the same time, use this time to prepare your static portion well. Prepare the background of the current affairs which is going on at the moment, right? Now you read the newspaper, a lot of people feel that कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा newspaper में, रोज we are spending 5 hours reading the newspaper only. So newspaper also has to be read in a certain way, okay? Because I'm getting these questions outside on almost everyday basis, so I wanted to clear this for once and all, that you read the newspaper for 1.5, 2 hours, whatever you are comfortable with. Someday there will be nothing in the newspaper, okay? No news which is important for UPSC perspective. All editorials are nonsense. Some days, though they are few, but some days. Some days the paper will be okay, so you can spend say 2.5 hours. Otherwise, 40-45 minutes if there's nothing, and maybe maximum 3 hours on some day when the editorials are excellent, there is something big going on in the parliament, some bill has been passed, this, that, बहुत intensive है newspaper, then you should spend more time. And make notes of only those things which you are sure that you will not get them in ready-made material. If there is some current affair which already 10 magazines are doing it for you and they are making points out of that, then why do you want to waste your energy? Okay, वो तो आ ही जाएगा ना. But will they summarize the editorials for you? Will they give you that quality vocabulary? That idea behind the editorial, the positives for that thing, the negatives for that thing as per that person? No, they will not do that. So make notes out of editorials. And the good editorials, the ones which are useful for your UPSC purposes, not just random editorials. That you will realize after reading 5-6 months of good newspaper reading. And any newspaper you can read, Hindu padho, Express padho, dono hi theek hai. There is no hard and fast rule. Although at a later stage you can start to read both of them. You know, just to see if there is anything which I missed in this newspaper, that you can read there. I felt personally that Indian Express has better news terms in terms of, the display of news they have, the content they have, and the diversity of news they follow. It is good. Hindu has fewer articles, but they are more detailed and hi-fi vocabulary is there. But editorial of Hindu is really good. Sometimes the editorial of Express is also good, but they are more generalistic. I find people writing better in Hindu editorials. And on Sunday, I felt Hindus are not that useful. Indian Express on Sunday, on contrary, is really good. Most of the times, Mr. Chidambaram, he writes an article on economy. It's really good. I mean, the kind of analysis he has. So look out for such people where they are writing, and try to develop an interest in newspaper writing. Newspaper reading. Once you start to enjoy the process of newspaper reading. I am reading newspapers till date. Abhi to ho bhi gaya exam clear. Right, but still you should develop an interest. Unless you develop an interest और वो एक punishment लगेगा ना, यार newspaper पढ़ना है, so that punishment thing will not benefit, right? You have to enjoy the process. It's very difficult to clear this exam unless and until you're not enjoying what you're studying. Yeah, I'm audible? Yes, sir. Alright, so we'll start with the topic for the day. Yeah. Yes, see, for governance, I have, before also I had mentioned to some of the people, there is no single consolidated source which is good enough for UPSC perspective. You can still refer to a governance book by Lakshmikant, although personally I did not like it much. Okay, we will also try to give you some printed material. Otherwise, whatever we are doing, almost all the topics we have covered. There will be some 2-3 other topics which will be taken by somebody else, health, education, all those things. So almost you will have a good enough idea of the entire static portion and the current portion till now. Now what you need to do is just supplement it with newspaper. And at that point of time when you will be writing mains next year, whatever current has been happening, right? So it is mostly 60 to 70% is current, right? But then again when you answer a question, say if there is a question of self-help groups and the recent rollback of state and all those things, something like that had come in 2017. So then you have to, now there was a part in which you had to write some historical background, right? So you have to know when SHGs were started, what was NABARD NSHG bank linkage program, what success it had, if there is something which is being continued now or whether we have deviated from that policy, then your current affair comes in, right? So 30 to 40% of your answer will always have the static and background portion, but current affair is very important when it comes to governance, right? Whatever hot topic is going on, you have to prepare for that also. Okay, so the topic for the day is Lokpal and Lokayuktas. So who is this person called as Lokpal? Ombudsman, okay. Yes, who oversees that there is no corruption in the administration. And what is the difference between these two? Central level and state level. Okay. And do you feel it has been successful or whether even implemented in the true form till date? So a lot of articles do come on this thing, although now they have been reduced. Last year when the Supreme Court verdict and all had come, there were a lot in news. And till date, there is a, kind of a crisis when it comes to appointment of Lokpal, but we'll discuss it in detail today. So let's start. So write something first. The idea of an anti-corruption body, and an ombudsman, ombudsman has been floating around for over 5 decades now. It finally got shape with the passing of Lokpal and Lokayukta's Bill 2013. On December 18, 2013. After a nationwide protest, led by correct, क्या नाम था इनका ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का? Yes, led by India Against Corruption. A civil society movement of activist Anna Hazare. Okay. So this is a brief background on how Lokpal was initiated. Most of you are aware about India Against Corruption and the whole protest and the whole movement that had led to the passing of the bill by the name of Lokpal and Lokayukta Bill 2013. Another idea behind me giving you this kind of a starting is that at times if you need to use these things in other areas also. If say you have to talk about the success of civil society organizations. Now I have not told you specifically this in civil society organizations, but if you recollect, okay, that India Against Corruption was also a civil society movement and it led to a success to the level that a bill was actually passed in the parliament and it led to the formation of Lokpal and Lokayuktas in state. So that is the success of civil society movements. If the civilians or if the citizens of the country who vote for the political class come on the streets and fight for their rights, then this is something which is achievable. This could be a good start for an essay against political dissent. I remember one place I had started with Martin Luther King and Anna Hazare and India Against Corruption on how important political dissent is to enrich the democracy. Right? So ऐसी चीजों को use किया करो कहीं कहीं. Now what is the Lokpal bill? Give the heading. What is the Lokpal bill? And you can also write and its salient features. and its salient features. Right? The act allows setting up of an anti-corruption ombudsman, setting up of an anti-corruption ombudsman called Lokpal at the center, and Lokayukta at the state level. Okay. Next point. The Lokpal will consist of a chairperson and maximum of 8 members, of which 50% shall be judicial members. Second point, the selection of chairperson or chairman and members of Lokpal shall be through a selection committee consisting of first, Prime Minister, second, Speaker of Lok Sabha, third, Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha, fourth, Chief Justice of India. Okay, I'll be slow. First point, Prime Minister. Second point, Speaker of Lok Sabha. Third point, Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha. PM, Speaker, Leader of Opposition. Then fourth point is Chief Justice of India, CJI, or a sitting Supreme Court judge nominated by the CJI. So who is a sitting judge of Supreme Court? बैठा हुआ जज नहीं होगा प्लीज. नहीं, not exactly senior most. Yes, by sitting judge we mean somebody is not retired. He is still among one of the bench of the Supreme Court and one of the 31 judges of Supreme Court, and that he or she can be nominated by the CJI. Last, fifth person, last, is an eminent jurist. To be nominated by the President of India. Who is an eminent jurist? Yes. A person who may not exactly be a judge or officiating judge, but he has to have a jurist background. He is eminent and has some kind of a judicial knowledge. Eminent jurist, right? This eminent jurist you've heard somewhere else also. Where? Can an eminent jurist become a judge of Supreme Court? Yes. But can an eminent jurist become a judge of High Court? No. Okay. ठीक है. Next point. So this was the selection committee. Okay. Okay. इसी point में लिख दो चाहे. A search committee will assist. A search committee will assist the selection committee. A search committee will assist the selection committee in the process of selection. 50% members of the search committee shall be amongst SC, STs, OBCs, comma minorities, SC, STs, OBCs, comma minorities and women. Okay. The next point you can write. The main function is to address complaints of corruption, comma, to make inquiries, comma, investigations, and to conduct trials, for the cases on respective state and central government, to conduct trials for the cases on respective state and central government with having the responsibility to help in curbing corruption at all levels. Next point. Lokpal's jurisdiction will cover all categories of public servants. Including the Prime Minister. The public servants include Group A, B, C and D officers. Group A, B, C and D officers of the government. Full stop. On complaints referred to CVC. क्या था CVC? Central Vigilance Commission. On complaints referred to CVC by the Lokpal, CVC will mandatorily send its report of the inquiry conducted to the Lokpal for further decision. ठीक है, इसमें right, but it is to be noted that the armed forces do not come under the ambit of Lokpal. The armed forces do not come under the ambit of Lokpal. Ambit, A-M-B-I-T. Yeah. जुडिशरी लोकपाल के अंडर ऑन पेपर तो नहीं है, क्लियरली डिफाइंड नहीं है वेदर जुडिशरी, बिकॉज जुडिशरी तो itself only they say we conduct our own audit and we are under the CGI supervision, everything is being checked. But if a complaint is given by the CVC or by Lokpal to CVC for inquiry, then preliminary inquiry can be done against judiciary also. Maybe the final action might not be taken, but a report can be drafted against judiciary also. See, all these bodies have a lot of work. Corruption is an indirect work of these people. It is not the sole focused area, right? CBI's primary work is investigation, okay? It is the premier investigating agency, and it is a very demeaning thing that they have to constantly get involved in cases of corruption against bureaucrats, against ministers, which actually makes them go away from their primary task, which is of investigation. Similarly, CVC has a strong role in corruption handling and vigilance cases, but then vigilance doesn't only include corruption, right? You may not be doing your work correctly as per rules and regulations. That also can call for a vigilance case against you, because you are undermining the authority of the government the moment you start to use your own discretion. That may not be because of corruption. Vigilance, CVC has a lot of important work in terms of providing clearances for officers getting promoted. CVC has several other works, right, apart from just battling corruption. So there are multiple agencies who are trying to battle the whole idea or the negative aspect which we call as corruption, but there was a need for a sole authority which was connected with the people, authority which had a representative, a member, a chairman who had enough power to actually question even the Prime Minister of India, which probably CVC, CBI could have never done that, considering that they have to function under the government itself, right? Yes. We can only. No, obviously the Lokpal will not go and personally arrest, right? The filing of charge sheet is the work of law and order agencies, so that they will do. But the preliminary inquiries or the filing of complaints that a person has faced corruption, he can immediately approach the Lokayukta in state and Lokpal at center. Now they will ask CVC, CBI to make preliminary inquiry against what has happened, and then they will follow back. If there is some substance in the matter, then they can order for whatever punishment or whatever action has to be taken against that particular official or those group of officials. So that is the whole setup. Although these things will soon get more clearer once these appointments get to make, okay? Now the Lokpal is not coming, the Lokayuktas are hardly in some of the states, so I mean they have been reduced to a very, very minuscule power holding authorities, whereas the role envisaged for them was very huge, right? You can question the Prime Minister of the country, the top bureaucrats in cases of corruption, or even in cases where they felt there was some idea of corruption, which otherwise is very difficult because of the Prevention of Corruption Act and Section 19, which often tends to protect these officials. And we will come on what is the politically motivated things and all in the appointment. We'll come on to that. And in the case of CBI also, you might have seen, obviously not on records, but it is an instrument of the union government, right? So it is very easy to actually see through who are the people getting arrested and who are the people having CBI cases against them immediately when there is a change in government. The whole setup of CBI and the way it functions also changes, right? I won't name anyone, but there is a certain section or a certain political party whose MPs will get arrested. All of a sudden, 10, 12 of them hiding in some resort, gone for a meeting, and all 12 arrested by the income tax or by the CBI. And as per these authorities, it was a very, very regular check, okay? It was a routine check, routine investigation that they found and got into a resort and arrested 13 member of parliament. But then obviously it is politically motivated. We cannot really deny that. So probably the role envisaged for Lokpal and Yuktas was more of an independent authority which is above from all these things and is something in line with the idea of common man fighting the corruption. And it is more approachable. Now we'll see how approachable it is, but definitely it is. I mean, it should be the way the whole idea is there. In fact, I had visited the Delhi Secretariat one of these days, and a very different thing I saw was even at the level of officers who are principal secretary to state government, very senior IS officers, IPS officers, outside their room it was written 10 AM to 11 AM, the officer is approachable by the public without any prior appointment. If the officer is not present, call on so and so number. So I mean, that is the kind of interaction or that is the kind of freedom a citizen should have to approach the top authorities. I really like that idea by the government. I don't know if any action is taken if he is not there in 10 to 11, and I mean the whole entry into secretariat is a big task if you don't know anybody or you don't have a government ID. Government ID, not those PAN cards and all, but the other government IDs. But then I mean something like this makes you feel that okay, there is still that kind of a citizen bureaucracy relation which exists, and these people are also approachable. You don't need to necessarily go through the grassroots level. You can actually approach the principal secretary health if you are facing in some of the problems in any of the hospitals, and he is very much approachable. I met him. So these are the things, right? So these things matter. When an authority becomes independent and is more approachable by the people and is involved in a certain independent task and is not burdened with 10, 12, 15 other things. Ye bhi karna hai, wo bhi karna hai, this and that. Although there is a proliferation of organizations. But then again, if Lokpal becomes a success and it does the work of fighting corruption on its own and becomes the nodal agency for this, then probably CVC, CBI can focus on their primary areas and they will retreat from this field. Right? They have to do this because there is no independent agency as of now. Alright. So, right? Yeah. See, the kind of requirement that you're saying about if there is a two-member veto or something, that is not there. Mostly there should be a consensus among the members who are appointing. No, the Act does not say anything. There is no veto or anything mentioned. We'll come on to that. We'll come on to that. We'll do that why the Lokpal is not being appointed. The leader of opposition thing you're saying, right? Yes. We'll discuss that. What about that? No, they are not included. No. Not directly as per the Act. Okay, so what are the powers of Lokpal? Next heading, what are the powers of Lokpal? The Lokpal will have the power of superintendence and direction over any investigating agency including CBI for cases referred to them, for cases referred to them by the ombudsman, by the ombudsman. Next point, as per the act, as per the act, Lokpal can summon, Lokpal can summon, summon, S-U-M-M-O-N, summon, call, summon or question any public servant, any public servant if there exists, if there exists, if there exists a prima facie, prima facie prima facie, if there exists prima facie case against the person, this is actually IE, FACIE, prima facie case against the person, against the person, even before an investigation agency, investigation agency has begun the probe, has begun the probe, P-R-O-B-E. What is prima facie? Yeah, so on the face of it, right? If you feel, or if the Lokpal feels that probably it appears that there might be some involvement of corruption by this individual or this organization, even prima facie is a good enough reason for Lokpal to pursue that and ask the authorities to take up the case. Okay, there is one more point in this. Any officer of the CBI, any officer of the CBI investigating a case, referred to it by the Lokpal, referred to it by the Lokpal, referred to it by the Lokpal, shall not be transferred, shall not be transferred, shall not be transferred without the approval, without the approval without the approval of the Lokpal. All right. So, I mean, you can see that a lot of powers are being given to Lokpal, right? So, we often see that if an investigating officer is very proactive and tries to reach to the depths of the case, he is often transferred. That is the routine process and very, very common in CBI, right? Because CBI being the premier agency has all the resources to conduct such investigation, and if an officer really tries to do what he wants, he can do that. So in such a case, often we see transfers are there, and maybe the second officer who will come with that same case might not take up it so proactively, or may have some political inclinations and may do as per the will of the government or the public servant involved. But then Lokpal has been given this authority that they can actually fix the officer, and that officer cannot be transferred who is handling the case referred by Lokpal until there are directions by the Lokpal himself. Write the next point. An investigation must be completed. An investigation must be completed within 6 months. Within 6 months. An investigation must be completed within 6 months. However, the Lokpal or the Lokayukta, may allow extension of 6 months at a time provided the reasons for the need of such extension provided the reasons for the need of such an extension are given in writing Next point, special courts will be constituted to conduct trials on cases referred by Lokpal. Special courts will be constituted to conduct trials on the cases referred by Lokpal. The Lokpal can award fine up to rupees 2 lakh for false or frivolous complaints. Frivolous frivolous complaints. ठीक है. Special courts की क्या जरूरत है? Why do we need special courts? For speedy trials, right? Otherwise, if we go through the whole mechanism of the judiciary, there are almost 3 crore pendencies if we combine the lower judiciary, the high courts and the Supreme Courts. Okay, maximum pendencies are in the lower judiciary itself. So if we go by that route, then probably the corrupt person will die and maybe his son will also die and his grandson might get punished. So for that, it will be a kind of a tribunal or a special court which maybe will have judges from the regular high courts or separate judges. I don't know how it will function, but these special courts will be formed which will actively take up these cases in a speedy manner and provide speedy justice, because justice delayed is justice denied. Yes. So now we'll discuss what the present controversy regarding the appointment of Lokpal. So give the heading, what are the issues in the appointment of Lokpal? Yeah. See, CAG is mostly auditing work, right? In the course of their auditing, they might find it, but it is mostly after the event has happened and much after the event has happened, right? The entire scam has been done, everything is done. After that, CAG might, during the course of its work, find that out. But it is not the primary work of CAG. CAG is actually the purse keeper of the government, okay? It retrospectively checks whether the expenditure which has been made, actually prospectively it checks whether the expenditure that was made was legally done. That is one aspect of it. The other aspect, it will check whether in terms of authority, whether that particular organization was authorized to make that expenditure. And third thing which it also checks is the performance, right? Whether the propriety or the wisdom behind the decision was there or not. These are the 3 things which CAG checks, and it submits its report to the Public Account Committee, which further presents it in the Parliament. But the primary work again is not corruption, and CAG will never find out if there is corruption at the grassroots level. Okay, CAG will probably review a big organization, say something like Election Commission or any other organization, may say maybe although Indian Railways doesn't come under its purview, say the Indian Railways or any big organization, they will be checking the financial aspect of it, whether the disbursement which was made to the different infrastructure projects was at the right places or not. But they will not check if there is some kind of a corruption happening at the ticketing level, which is being faced by the common man. Can you and I approach the CAG? If we face corruption, can we call, the Comptroller Auditor General of India and say, in your next audit report, whenever it comes, please mention that so-and-so individual got harassed at so-and-so office. See, that cannot happen, right? So CAG has a different kind of work. Even when it exposes corruption, it is at a very large scale, right? After the event has happened again and again and again and became a scam out of it. So that is the difference. किससे? ये 10 से 11 मिलने वाला is an initiative by the Delhi government. बट आप ट्राई जरूर करिए कैग के ऑफिस में एक बार 10 से 11. अगर आप मिल गए तो बताना. So what are the issues in the appointment? Write down. The current Lok Sabha does not have a क्या leader of opposition to sit on the selection panel. Full stop. For an opposition party to get the leader of opposition post, for an opposition party to get the leader of the opposition post, it should have a strength of at least 10% of the total members in the house, and none of the parties managed to cross this mark. Full stop. This unique situation called for an amendment to the existing Lokpal Act to change the leader of opposition The unique situation called for an amendment to the existing Lokpal Act, the one which we were discussing, to change the leader of opposition to leader of the largest party in opposition. Full stop. While the amendment was moved and the standing committee approved it, while the amendment was moved and the standing committee approved it, it is yet to be tabled in the parliament. Full stop. This has drawn widespread criticism by the civil society organizations, CSOs, widespread criticism by the civil society organizations and even Supreme Court who have accused the center for unnecessarily delaying it. All right. So the present scenario is that there are 5 people who are involved in the selection committee. कौन कौन है? Prime Minister, Speaker, Chief Justice, eminent jurist, and leader of opposition. Now the thing with leader of opposition, which most of you are aware that there is no leader of opposition because none of them could secure 10% votes. Yes. Because of which what we have at the moment is leader of the largest party in opposition. Who is the leader of largest party in opposition at the moment? Mallikarjun Kharge. Correct. But we do not have a leader of opposition. So because of which there lies one vacancy or one member who will not be present in the constitution of this Lokpal and its members, which brings the whole crisis. Now, what is the difference between leader of opposition and leader of the largest party in opposition? I mean, does the latter have any kind of a recognition? Yes. So by the Statutory Act of 1977, the leader of opposition is a recognized post, okay, and he or she is given similar perks and facilities as to a cabinet minister, okay. So leader of opposition नहीं, राहुल गांधी नहीं है leader of opposition. मैं यही कहानी समझा रहा हूँ इतनी देर से. So there is no leader of opposition at the moment. There is only leader of the largest party of opposition. वो भी नहीं है अभी राहुल गांधी. डालना पड़ेगा वोट अगली बार. ठीक है. तो but it is actually a very hypocritical stand by the government because the similar conditions were there in the appointment of CBI director, CVC and everywhere else. There they could easily amend the rules. They passed amendments, the standing committee approved, it was tabled in the parliament and recruitments and appointments were done at the level of CBI, CVC and other such posts. But when it came to Lokpal, there was a sense of complacency and reluctance at the end of the government that they have been, I mean after 2014 it's now 18, almost 4 years, and they could not table a bill which required a minor amendment already approved by the standing committee, okay. Then also they have not tabled it, and you will not see much opposition also in this matter. No party will come on the street fighting, अरे लोकपाल नहीं आ रहा, चलो लोकपाल को बाद में देखते हैं, पहले सीसैट के लिए लड़ते हैं, ठीक है. So they have this, whenever there are things where both the parties are benefiting, where opposition will also benefit, they will also benefit, nobody will actually come on the streets and protest. That is the sad story of the Indian politics, that these guys will collude whenever they need to, okay, and whenever they want their political vote bank to go strong, they will fight each other. So on the issue of Lokpal, there is absolutely nothing, okay. The people who are fighting are the civil society organization. Prashant Bhushan, who is the lawyer of this NGO called Common Cause, yes. So he is representing Common Cause, and Common Cause has been very active on many issues. You might have read this name Common Cause in a lot of places. Very, very public spirited guys, and they have always been fighting against these things, and Prashant Bhushan has been representing, and despite Supreme Court orders where they also mentioned that you could tweak such things, minor amendments in the appointments of other dignitaries, other authorities, but you could not do it for Lokpal. There has to be some substance, some written reply, which was given by the central government but could not satisfy the courts. So again the Supreme Court has ordered directions recently and have asked to take up this matter on immediate consideration. Let's see if it gets tabled in this monsoon session, but doesn't look like, right? So this is the entire controversy. Your stand should be in this case to support an independent body like Lokpal and Lokayukta, which aims to fight corruption, and the government, whatever reasons they may had in the future or had in the future, now they should proactively take up this matter. Even after the passing of this bill, the procedure should be quick. Okay, now it should not like be fine, now the term has been changed from leader of opposition to leader of the largest party in opposition, but it takes 2 years to then find another Lokpal, another 15 months for his approval to come from the ACC, then he joins, and then by the time the government is again changed, right? So there should not be such laxity, things should be much faster, right? Because even though it may not be important for them as such, but for the common man and the people who had vested their trust in the movement of India against corruption and thought that when a bill is passed in the government, in the parliament, by the parliamentarians who represent these citizens, they expect something. They expect faster delivery, faster results, right? It is very important for the executive to take decisions. See, there is a reason why the former Prime Minister was not respected that much and the present one is, because decisions are taken. Unless and until you take decisions, right or wrong, but at least first take decisions, right? Unless until you do something, how can you expect results? You see Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji's government, at that time, he was not even holding, he lost his prime ministerial post during the Kargil war time. Yet, an event like Kargil war, he was the prime minister who was coordinating and he was taking care of the country at that point of time. Decisions were being taken like this, okay? So that is the authority, or that is the kind of decisions which the executive is expected to do. When the parliament and the executive shows complacency in matters like these, it reflects the will of the government. They want to pass GST, they can make minor amendments which benefits the corporate class, which will probably not even be known to us. Nobody really gives a, nobody gives to these electoral bonds and all these political funding. Okay, we need transparency in funding, but that can be done through several ways. You cannot say that it is a populist measure or it is for the people that we are bringing in electoral bonds. If you want to do something for the people, then bring in Lokpal, bring in Lokayukta, reduce corruption, bring a scheme against corruption, right? Swachh Bharat Abhiyan should also have a Swachhata in the whole financial aspect, right? Anti-corruption can also come in Swachh Bharat. That is the biggest dirt that we have to clean at the moment. Whichever people I meet nowadays or my batchmate will be like, okay, you'll join these services, bhai corruption mat karna. At least ye cheez change kar dena, because this is the general sentiment of people against the administration. You know, the whole attitude that unless and until there is this rent-seeking approach which we had discussed, that unless you pay, your work will not be done. That mindset has to be changed, and that mindset can be changed by young bureaucracy like us and the people who will come from your end, right? So this is Lokpal. Now the next topic we'll do is e-governance. Hanji, bolo. Yeah, so the only qualification mentioned is 50% of the members should be from judicial background. Yeah, judicial background. 50% and the remaining members can be from admin, but usually some people who have high experience in administration or dealing with anti-corruption cases will be taken.
So, what if the parliamentarians will dilute Lokpal's power like they are doing with CIC?
They can do, but let's see. If they do, then again they'll be...
And it is not a basic structure of constitution. So, Supreme Court cannot do anything about it.
No, Supreme Court may not do anything, but if they are actually diluting this, and similar to the case of CIC and all these things, that amendment may not pass in the parliament, right? So, I mean, let's not think about something which has not happened only. When that happens, and if it does, then we'll talk about it.
Sir, why do we need a leader of opposition in the Lokpal? हमें जरूरत क्या है कोई और?
हाँ, वो exactly नहीं जरूरत तो नहीं है, but then constitutional provision यही था ना, जब ये Act आई, उस टाइम ये 5 members थे. Similarly, when you talk about the appointment of CBI director, CVC or all these other posts, these names are given. Now since they are given, that member has to be present. If he is not present, then either you make a leader of opposition, that is not possible because nobody got 10% seats, or you amend it and you bring somebody else who is similar to the leader of opposition, that becomes the leader of the largest party in opposition. How can you restrict the power?
Lokpal, the person who is Lokpal, he is investigating on some matter of corruption. So is it like there is restriction अगर Lokpal कुछ गलत करता है?
See, वही है ना, it's a very futuristic thing. Now the whole idea of Lokpal was created to benefit people, to fight corruption. I don't think nobody has actually thought if Lokpal becomes corrupt तो क्या होगा? Because he has a lot of power, authority in his hands. So again, there is not one person. Lokpal has members, there are 8 people. Naturally, they'll have board meetings. Decision will be taken by consensus. Unless until you vest the entire power in one guy, he or she may become tyrannical, right? But when there are 8 of them, even they are regularly doing work with CBI, CVC. Okay, you cannot ask a CBI officer to do something which is absolutely wrong. Okay, or if you can ask 1%, 2%, but not every guy. So there will be checks and balances, but those things will come into light once the bill gets passed, when the Lokpal gets formed, right? So the next heading is e-governance. Yeah. Uh, hmm. So in this case, I think the eminent jurist name was given for the former Attorney General Mukul Rohtagi. But see, Mukul Rohtagi is an eminent jurist. You cannot question his credentials. And if somebody who is appointed to this post does not have that kind of credentials, there will be opposition from all sections of the society. And I don't think the government of the day can afford to do that. They will respect the values of these things which are given, and the right person would be meant to sit there. Yeah.
Are there any provision like what should be the criteria on which Lokpal or that particular committee, the person, what should be their criteria?
I said no, there are 50% of the members out of these 8 have to have judicial background. That's all. This is the only condition given. Okay, so e-governance. What is e-governance? बताओ.
सर ऐसी कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन गवर्नमेंट की आप ऑनलाइन चाह रहे हो, ठीक है, तो उसको डाउनलोड करने के लिए इंटरनेट की जरूरत पड़ेगी.
Okay.
इंटरनेट से इंफॉर्मेशन निकालने के लिए
क्या क्या इंटरनेट से?
मतलब जैसे
नहीं बोलो बोलो.
मेरा मॉरल डाउन कर दिया.
एनीवन इन का तो मॉरल डाउन हो गया. कोई और? Application of information technology in governance, correct? All right. So, with your morals being up, write the definition of e-governance. The E in e-governance, the E in e-governance, e-governance. So this E in e-governance stands for electronic. Thus e-governance is basically associated with carrying out the functions. The E in the e-governance stands for electronic. Thus e-governance is basically associated with carrying out the functions and achieving the results of governance through the utilization of ICT. What is ICT? Yes, information and communication technology. Next point. While governance relates to safeguarding the legal rights of all citizens, an equally important aspect is concerned with ensuring equitable access equitable access to public services, and the benefits of economic growth, to all, to all. It also ensures government to be transparent in its dealings, comma, accountable for its activities, and faster in its responses, RESPONSES, and faster in its responses as a part of, within quotes, good governance. Okay, so the basic idea behind e-governance is to make the information more accessible to people, more available to people. At the same time, once you digitize something, then there is no need of actually personally visiting each and every government office. The cost effectiveness, the time effectiveness, the ease of doing business when it comes to the business or transactions between the citizens and the government, that is also an ease of business, right? And that comfort or that ease can be enjoyed at both the ends. So it not only benefits the citizens because they can access information online and it is time saving and cost efficient for them, but also for the government because it reduces corruption, because the moment you reduce human interface, right, corruption is bound to reduce. Secondly, reduction of manpower. If you digitize and automate things, you need lesser people at certain places. Okay, better grievance redressal can be done in case the transactions are done online, right? And apart from that, the reach which the government has, because slowly, gradually, when the internet penetration will be everywhere, which is a present major day drawback, the same kind of governance, the same quality of services can be provided equally, irrespective of the different kind of governments, the different kinds of administrators, the corruption involved, the bureaucracy, the red tapeism, all of that will gradually wither away with e-governance because everything will be on the same level, right? The same platform accessed by the millionaire richest person also and probably the poorest of all. So that is a kind of an egalitarian society also which can be aimed by providing governance through e-modes, that is electronic modes. Write something in this. However, this would require the government to change itself, comma, its processes, its outlook, comma, laws, comma, rules, regulations, and also its way of interacting with the citizens, It would require capacity building, within quotes likho, capacity building, within the government, and creation of general awareness about e-governance among the citizens. All right. So both the government as well as the citizens have to evolve. If this e-governance has to be made a success, Digital India has to be made a success, the effort has to be made from both the sides. The government has to leave its status quoist approach of doing that same file work, same public interaction, and move away to a more digital platform while it comes to giving services. And the people also, citizens also have to understand and slowly and gradually adapt to this way. Penetration of digital literacy becomes very important. Apart from internet penetration, it is also very important for digital literacy, which is one of the major drawbacks which we will discuss, because in a country where normal literacy is such a problem, how can you expect, even financial literacy is hardly there with people. They don't know why a bank account is needed. They don't know how probably a fixed deposit account or all these things can be opened. With lack of financial literacy, it is difficult to expect digital literacy, right? Especially with the senior citizens. People of our generations may be more aware. We are the WhatsApp generation. We know how internet functions. We are pretty much aware about that, right? But say if we go one generation above, half of our parents might not be very comfortable using all these e-technologies. Till date, they go to bank to actually transfer money when it can be done through 10 different apps. And the generation above us, they probably have not even heard about internet, or maybe just a few of them. So that is the kind of penetration of digital literacy which is also required. So the benefits are huge, but the challenges are also even bigger when it comes to e-governance, especially in a country like India, which is so vast, so huge. The resources are limited and the population is unlimited. Okay, so then it becomes a problem. So write down ICT provides efficient storing. ICT provides efficient storing and retrieval of data comma instantaneous transmission of information, comma, processing information and data faster than the earlier manual systems, speeding up governmental processes, comma, taking decisions faster and judiciously, judiciously, comma, increasing transparency and enforcing accountability. Full stop. It also helps in increasing the reach of the government, both geographically and demographically. Okay, so there is a term which we had used, that is enforcing accountability, right? So the moment you bring in e-governance, it will obviously bring in transparency because everything is in front of you on your monitor, and transactions are happening simultaneously. You can view, you know how much you are paying for a particular service, you know how much you are getting paid if you are giving certain service or certain things like that. The entire transaction, which may or may not be monetary but is transparent in nature. And by the virtue of e-governance, you are actually forcing the government to be accountable. Okay, accountability is generated in the process via transparency, right? So we had discussed that transparency and accountability always go hand in hand. It is very rare to not be transparent and be accountable, and at the same time be transparent and not be accountable. Okay, we'll discuss more on these two terms in ethics also, but that's important here. Now give the heading types of e-governance, types of government interaction in e-governance. Types of government interaction in e-governance. ठीक है, इसके अंदर 4 चीजें हैं, 4 पॉइंट्स. फर्स्ट इज G2G. Yeah, so write these 4 things. G2G is government to government. G2G is government to government. Second is G2C, which is government to citizen, government to citizen. Third is G2B, G2B, government to business. And fourth, G2E, which is government to employees. Very good. ठीक है? So now we'll be discussing all these 4 and the different interaction, and we'll be doing in detail a lot of examples in all of them. Now these examples are important because they have been compiled from different sources, different government schemes which were successful because of this type of interaction in e-governance, and you can quote them in your governance answers wherever you get, the opportunity to do so. So the first one we'll discuss is government to citizen, G2C. So what is government to citizen initiatives? I mean, what is the interaction between government to citizens? What do we mean by that? Yeah, so any service of the government or any activity of the government or its engagement is with the citizens. So when we talk about government to citizens or e-governance between the two parties, then any form of interaction which is happening between the government and the citizens, okay, when that is happening through e-governance mode, that is the G2C idea, right? So what are the different examples or what are the different things that have been done? So please make a note of it. First point, computerization of land records. Computerization of land records, This is the heading in this, right? In collaboration with NIC, it ensures that landowners get computerized copies of ownership, crop, crop, and tenancy TENANCY, tenancy, and updated copies of records of rights, RORs कहते हैं इसे, record of rights, RORs, on demand. Next point. This is also related to land records. It's called Lokvani project, LOKVANI, Lokvani project in Uttar Pradesh. Lokvani project in Uttar Pradesh. Lokvani is a PPP project. Lokvani is a PPP project. What is a PPP project? Public-private partnership. Lokvani is a public-private partnership project at Sitapur district in UP. The objective of which is to provide a single window self-sustainable e-governance solution, self-sustainable e-governance solution with regard to handling of grievances, its objective is to provide a single window, self-sustainable e-governance solution with regard to handling of grievances, land record maintenance, and providing other essential services. ठीक है, एक और भी है इसमें, और लिखो. There are a lot of examples and you should remember these examples, not just for the point of this thing, but otherwise also whenever you talk about e-governance or you talk about land records, you should have some government schemes in mind, some previous year government schemes and some present schemes, right? Yeah, it is being done. Yeah, so in some states where it is being actively done, वहाँ का आपको example दिया है, right? Otherwise, digitization of land record is happening everywhere. It is not completed in many states. In fact, several states who claim also they might not have digitized the entire land records, but it is under process. And we have to understand that it is a huge work. I mean, there are no less, I mean, more than 10,000 land records would be handled by a single tehsildar or a BDO, right? So that kind of a data or paperwork, to digitize that with the perfect signatures of the authorities as well as the party, I mean the people who are involved, it is a big task. So yes, it has not been completed everywhere, but it is being undergone. There is one more, write this one, e-Seva in Andhra Pradesh. E-Seva. Because most of the examples are from G2C or maybe G2B. That is the biggest area, because the government has to serve the citizens, right? And they are the biggest customers or the biggest beneficiaries of the government's initiatives. So majority of the initiatives which are taken will be from G2C only, so which makes it the most important area. So in e-Seva, right, this project is designed to provide basic services to the citizens, to the citizens. The highlight of e-Seva project, the highlight of e-Seva project the highlight of e-Seva project is that most of the services are delivered online to consumers, citizens, slash citizens, consumers slash citizens, by connecting them to respective government departments and providing online information regarding the same. Okay. So there are different such models which are being implemented in different places, which makes it very important that we should know some of them, especially the successful initiatives that we have discussed and how e-governance is helping. In the last one which we just discussed, there is an element of interoperability which we will talk about when we discuss the advantages. Interoperability becomes very important. If you have ever visited a government department for any work, you might have seen that you have to run to 10 different departments to get one work done, right? One section will tell you go to this area, this is not my domain, you go to that officer in that department, he will say you go to that ministry or that department, which becomes a problem. But when you have a single window interface, okay, one single window interface through which you are electronically connected to all those departments, and you don't have to worry to have your physical presence in each one of them, which makes it very helpful and beneficial for the citizens to retrieve the information, data or services that they want to. So interoperability becomes very, very important here, right? Right, one more recent initiative by the name of DigiLocker. 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 Right, in this, the certificates issued by the government, educational, residential, medical records, birth certificates, etc. are to be stored in individual digital lockers, and a communication protocol established for government departments to access them without physically having to see the hard copy, Yeah. Yes, the purpose of the government purpose of the government is that the copies of certificates issued by the government itself. अच्छा next हो गया तो आपको last line चाहिए थी right? So digital lockers and the communication protocol is established for government departments to access them without physically having to see the hard copy. There's one more line in this. The purpose of the government is that the copies of certificates issued by the government are not carried around by the people to government offices for various services. So last year there had been a question also. This was a recent scheme regarding the whole idea of DigiLocker, and it is a good initiative or a good concept wherein it benefits the consumer as well as the government. You can store your important documents relating to your, say, medical bills or your medical reports, your birth certificates, your educational graduation 10, 12 certificates. All these are saved in a digital locker, right? The authority to access which is with you and maybe the government, and it reduces the necessity to physically carry these government documents every time you go to a certain department. Or maybe for the people where the government already has these documents, they can be compiled into a DigiLocker for a individual person, and maybe due to the lack of these documents they are not denied any service in the future, like it is done that you don't have birth certificate, you will not be able to join a school and all those things, right? And maybe in the future this can be linked with Aadhaar, okay? And your single Aadhaar number or your Aadhaar ID or with your fingerprint or whatever, all these data in your DigiLocker can be accessed by the government and the individual. So this is again an example of automation or minimizing the governmental efforts as well as the efforts of the consumer by digitizing the entire thing. Reduction of paper and all these things are other collateral benefits that we will have once you start to move to the digital domain. So the next now we will discuss is, the basic idea behind DigiLocker was that individuals can save it themselves, but now they are evolving it that if government already has these documents, it can be, a separate DigiLocker can be created and identified and put in that. But that will be a bigger step to do. So the basic idea is that citizens have to do that themselves only. Kind of iCloud, yeah, but with lesser memory. Okay. So the next thing is government to business, G2B. Government to business. हाँ, तो क्या है, what is government to business? E-auctioning, yes, these are examples. So basically when the interaction is between the government and the businesses or the corporate houses, when it happens through the e-model or using e-governance, then this type of an interaction can be classified into G2B category, right? And we will discuss what are the initiatives that are being taken. There are again many. We'll discuss some of them which have benefited this kind of an interaction and reduce the time wastage and all those things which we know are an outcome of e-governance. So write in this. Yes, that can again happen. your private data might get exposed and all those things. But then that is a natural corollary to all these things. Unless until you have a secure digital architecture, your entire internet security doesn't happen. Right to privacy may get violated. But then again, these things have to be taken care of. Okay, uh, see, now it is at a very nascent stage, right? Not many people have opened it. I don't know the exact number, but personally I feel there are not many people who have uploaded their entire documents. Also, these documents may not be of national importance to everybody, somebody's medical record, but although they still form a very important part of your personal rights, but necessarily there is a strong cyber security architecture for protecting these things. So let's hope that it doesn't get compromised. Yes, so in this, write the first example or first scheme. Government to business में e-procurement projects in Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. This has been done to reduce the time and cost of doing business for both vendors and government. Second point, MCA 21 by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, this project aims at providing easy and secure online access to all registry related services provided by the Union Ministry of Corporate Affairs to corporates and other stakeholders at any time and in any manner, and in a manner, not any, and in a manner that best suits them. Suits, S-U-I-T-S, suits them. ठीक है, तो ये दो एग्जाम्पल है which highlight how government can also efficiently function through e-governance while dealing with these business and corporates. Okay, both of them are examples. One more recent example you can write about GEM, government e. What is GEM? जैम नहीं, GEM जन आधार अलग है. GEM, government e-marketplace. e-marketplace. This is an initiative. This is an initiative by the union government. By the union government for fair and unbiased fair unbiased and transparent procurements for various ministries and departments Okay, so this GEM or government e-marketplace is a recent initiative by the union government where most of the procurement that is being done by the departments and ministries of the union government are done through this now. So for example, I need 100 chairs in my office and 200 tables, something like that. I will upload the details of this requirement that I have on this portal, right? Now different people can file a tender. I mean, a tender will be filed and different people can give their bids to this particular tender on this e-market along with their credentials, their product quality, their specifications and the time limit in which they can provide these services. Now through an automated GEM system or the software, a bidding will happen and the lowest bidder will automatically be chosen, who has the best credentials and the least prices, and that organization will be supplying the required goods and commodity. Now this brings in a lot of transparency in government procurement, right? Because government is the biggest procurer when it comes to anything. You cannot compete with them when if they want to procure cars or computers, because everything happens at bulk, right? So if the new Ciaz car has to be brought for all the joint secretaries and above, SX4 purani ho gayi hai, now everybody wants Ciaz, theek hai? So usually you'll see that there is one type of car which almost all the government officials are using. Earlier it was SX4, now it is Ciaz, theek hai? So now Ciaz has to be procured, and it has to be procured in mass, say 500, 600, 1000 of them. So that should be done, or that is now being done through an online system where bidding is done, the bidding is transparent. Naturally the government also wants to save their money. On the contrary, I mean in the past it used to be done that some collusion used to happen between the procuring agency or the procuring officer and that of the the supplier, and they were like, okay, do Ciaz aapki, baki in sabke price inflate kar do, right? So these things can get much more reduced. Although a lot of procurement is yet to happen through this, it is only the beginning, but again it becomes very easy for the government also to procure. Especially it becomes very advantageous and easy for the vendors who are very new in the business, especially the startups, right? If they want to supply to the government, it becomes very difficult for them because the government and these vendors, the big ones, they already have contacts with the officials and everyone. And rarely does the credibility thing comes in for these startups, because obviously they don't have those kind of resources to approach them and get their work done. So if things are done in such a transparent manner, then a lot of budding entrepreneurs and these startups can also benefit from this kind of a procurement. Obviously the government will also benefit because they will be getting things at the cheapest price along with good quality. So this is that, right? So there are a lot of registries, gaadi ki karate ho, land ki registry, there are a lot of things which you get registered, and the data of which often lies with Ministry of Corporate Affairs or maybe different ministries, but Corporate Affairs is trying to compile these things and bring it to you in an online form. Next is government to government initiatives, G2G. ठीक है, so government to government में क्या होता है? Now the work of the government when gets digitized, right, when it gets automated, it will ultimately reduce the burden of the government. It will streamline the processes or the procedure that is followed by the government. So it has no citizen interface, it has no employee interface or any business interface, but to reduce the efforts of the government by the government. Okay. So इसमें लिख लो, just will not do it in detail, one or two schemes will write. Okay, so one is खजाने project, KHAJANE, खजाने पता नहीं क्या है, खजाने, KHAJANE project in Karnataka, KHAJANE project in Karnataka. It is a comprehensive online treasury computerization project online treasury computerization project of the government of Karnataka. This project has resulted in the computerization, this project has resulted in the computerization of the entire treasury. This project has resulted in the computerization of the entire treasury related activities, entire treasury 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 related activities of the state government, and the system has the ability to track every activity right from the approval of the state budget, to the point of rendering accounts to the government. ठीक है. So इसमें they have developed this internal monitoring system of funds, where once the state budget is allocated, state budget is passed, then the allocations to different ministries, departments, offices is actually checked. How much money is being transferred to which area, if it is spent, how it is spent, and the sum total which was initially allocated and finally spent, and if that much amount is left or it is completely spent, the entire amount is there, right? So you don't have to actually go through the entire paperwork, because each and every department will be filing in their expenditures, their earnings, their allocations, and that can be summatively checked, which is a very good initiative. Okay. One more example here you can give is Smart GOV in Andhra Pradesh. It was developed to streamline operations, enhance efficiency through automation of government data and resources, in Andhra Pradesh. Alright, so both these examples are self-explanatory. I have explained that also. Now we come to the fourth one, which is government to employee. ठीक है, government to employee वाले में again there are not many initiatives in this, but the basic idea is to digitize whatever interaction is being happened by the government and the employees, which is in different areas. If it could be in filing system, the salaries, pensions, funds allocated to them or their ministry, and that kind of a thing is being done, right? So mostly it is employee centric with the government. So there is one good example which you can write about is PFMS, Public Financial Management System. Public Financial Management System. Public Financial Management System, PFMS. So actually when PFMS actually came in last year I think, the intent of PFMS was to monitor the funds that were allocated through central sector schemes. Okay, so the same thing which we had discussed previously in the state government one, the same initiative was taken by the government, that whatever money that they are given through central sector schemes, one is central sector schemes, the other is centrally sponsored schemes. क्या difference है दोनों में? कोई एक बताओ. Exactly, central sector schemes are 100% sponsored. So this is at times confusing. Usually when we talk about CSS, it is essentially sponsored schemes. Okay, sponsored में a major chunk is by central government, but still state governments are contributing. Usually it is 75:25 for normal states and 90:10 for northeast, usually. But the ratio may vary. But when it comes to central sector schemes, the entire funding is by the union government. So to monitor that, PFMS was brought in. But now that is happening, at the same time PFMS is playing a very important role in issuing of the monetary documents in the form of salary slips, pension slips to employees. So every government official has an account on PFMS, right? Their login ID, their employee ID, and these things are necessary for a person to access his salary slips, to check his other data, his NPS account, his pension related things, his PRAN card, all these documents related to employee are now being gradually shifted to PFMS. It is this online automated system. So you can write a little on this. PFMS, though the main work of PFMS is for monitoring central sector schemes, but it also caters CATERS, caters to the needs of the employees, in terms of accessing their salary slips, their pension details, and other such details, right? So now we have discussed all four of them. We have to discuss a little about mobile governance also, but before that we'll be doing an important thing which is called National E-Governance Plan, NEGP. National E-Governance Plan. It has been in news, although it's a very old plan from 2006, but some or the other amendments are changes constantly being brought into it. And I have not seen any question also come on this in the past, so it's a good topic. NEGP, National E-Governance Plan. National E-Governance Plan, NEGP. Okay, write something on this. The NEGP was formulated by the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, Department of Electronics and Information Technology, जिसको शॉर्ट में DIT भी लिखते हैं, DEITY, Department of Electronics and Information Technology, DEITY, and Department of Administrative Reforms, and Public Grievances, this is in brackets, right? DARPG, in 2006. Recently, the government has approved 27 projects under NEGP in mission mode, MISSION, mission mode. So what is mission mode? Yes, anyone? Mission mode term तो सुना होगा कहीं पे. The government is implementing XYZ in mission mode. नहीं, not pilot project. Priority basis, exactly. So whenever something is being done on a mission mode, that means it has a definite timeline, a definite procedure, a definite secretariat staff, and things are now being pursued at priority basis, and it has to be achieved, right? So the government resources and manpower will be effectively used to achieve these targets. So these 27 projects have been started or accepted on mission mode. Under this, right, there is an initiative started called E-Kranti. This is actually to facilitate these 27 projects and the other projects under the NEGP. So E-Kranti, the vision of E-Kranti is within quotes transforming e-governance for transforming governance. ठीक है? Then write mission of E-Kranti is to deliver all government services all government services in an integrated and interoperable interoperable manner while ensuring efficiency इसमें एक छोटी सी हेडिंग डालो thrust areas which is the focus areas. Thrust areas. So there are 6 thrust areas. The first one is e-education, e-healthcare, justice, cyber security, agriculture, and the last one is planning. ठीक है. So this was the NEGP and E-Kranti and the projects under this. There are several government initiatives, right? If you start to read these schemes, it becomes very difficult, but you have to read a lot of them. I have only done the ones related to governance. I will still give you a list of some other ones which you should read, and then we'll proceed a little on mobile governance and advantages, disadvantages. Okay. But a lot of you might be wondering how to do these schemes and all, and they do often come in the exam. In prelims, you'll always see there are 1 or 2 questions. See, what you can do about this is try to compile them. Like whenever you see certain schemes which are, falling under one domain, say health, so उन सबको एक साथ compile कर लो. The ones which are under education, do them together. The ones under agriculture, the ones for women. Usually one or the other coaching institute or somewhere you get a good compilation of them. But it's very difficult to, memorize them. What you can do is try to Google each one of them and read, because just blatantly reading facts, okay, this many crores allotted to this many people, will never stay in your mind. You need to read some content on it. Now if you feel that 3-4 schemes are getting very repetitive, now there is a reason to start a scheme, okay. Unnecessarily they will not, although on paper in reality there might not be any difference, but at least on paper there is some difference if 2 schemes are being done, okay, or if 2 organizations are created for the same work. So try to know that difference. Why was this created if this was already existent? Okay, now I'll give you some initiatives, just read about them. I'll just give you the name and 1 line each. One is Pragati, Pragati, Pragati. Proactive governance, Pragati, Pragati. The full form is proactive governance and timely implementation. You can give the heading other initiatives, right? Usme first one is Pragati, proactive governance and timely implementation. Second is VPN, virtual police station network. PFMS and GEM I have already told you. One more you can write, CP grams, CP grams. The full form is, चलो पहले full form ही लिखो, centralized public grievance and monitoring system. So this is basically for public grievance readdressal for the services that you're getting, kind of a feedback mechanism. Okay, so these were the one. Now briefly we'll discuss about mobile governance, right? M governance. M governance. ठीक है, इसमें लिखो M governance. M governance is not a replacement, is not a replacement, is not a replacement. M governance is not a replacement for e-governance. Rather it complements e-governance. Rather it complements e-governance. M governance is the use of mobiles or wireless to improve governance. M governance is the use of mobile, so itna hi likho, is the use of mobiles to improve governance. Service and information within quotes likho anytime anywhere. Service and information within quotes anytime anywhere, quote unquote, full stop. Mobile application also rely on ICT infrastructure. Mobile applications also rely on ICT infrastructure. It has potential of using mobile phones as input devices in certain areas where last mile connectivity becomes a issue. Okay, so what is last mile connectivity? To reaching the end user wherever he is. Okay, and that is more achievable through mobile phone. There is a lack of accessibility to computers, laptops and all these other electronic devices as compared to a mobile phone. Almost everybody, a lot of people have mobile phones these days, right? And if the governance can be done through that, it would be a positive step forward, right? Especially if you can check your bank account, you can transfer money, you can access the government services, whatever things which you are otherwise doing on your e-portal, if that can be done through your mobile phone, if by an SMS you can check whether your ration has come in the PDS store or not, these things are all a part of mobile governance. They may or they may not necessarily use internet, but definitely the service of mobiles. Some of you might understand when I say the term USSD, unstructured data wala jo hota hai. Yes, something kisne bola? Yes, star 99 and all these things. So these unstructured data are also services which are being provided by government, where you don't actually need the internet. So at times you can, in fact wo Bheem mein ab aa gaya hai, you can use USSD and transfer money and all using your mobile number without actually having internet. So the whole idea of lack of internet penetration, it doesn't matter when you have mobile this M governance. And specifically when we talk about last mile connectivity, in villages and in rural areas there is something called as ashas, jo ancillary midwives and all hai. They carry these smartphones they are being given, and they carry videos related to maternal health care, the care of the child and all, and they go to house and they show it to the pregnant women or other people in the family and try to educate them. Okay, so that is also a good use of mobile governance, also to attain last mile connectivity. इसमें एक छोटा सा लिख लो, read that. Mobile Seva is one initiative by the government. Mobile Seva. Mobile Seva aims to provide government services government services to people through mobile phones and tablets. To people through mobile phones and tablets. Mobile phones and tablets. So briefly we'll discuss now the advantages and disadvantages. Although हमने सब बात कर लिया, but we'll just write one point each, because when you talk about e-governance, there is a high chance that you'll be asked why e-governance or why not e-governance. Okay, this could be a supplementary question to some other things. So they may ask, do you feel that this initiative is successful by the government, or probably do you think that e-governance is the need of the hour? Elaborate. And then after that, one government scheme of the government, and what are the positives or what is the impact of this particular initiative. Something like the question is framed. Okay, so they always give you an opportunity to answer one part out of the two. इसमें लिखो advantages. हाँ बताओ क्या क्या हैं advantages? यार वुमेन सेफ्टी मिला मतलब ई गवर्नेंस से सबसे पहला पॉइंट. इतनी चीजें डिस्कस की, द फर्स्ट यू फील इज वुमेन सेफ्टी. वुमेन सेफ्टी क्या नाम था उसका? हिम्मत ऐप था. एग्जैक्टली. ठीक है, वेरी गुड. वुमेन सेफ्टी. ठीक है, ई गवर्नेंस की बात कर रहे हैं सबसे पहले. हाँ, लेस करप्शन वाला. ठीक है, फर्स्ट पॉइंट स्पीड. किसमें जोड़ देना, आप तो सब जोड़ देते हो. एम गवर्नेंस में ज्यादा जोड़ना तो बेटर होगा. ठीक है, स्पीड जल्दी लिखो यार. टेक्नोलॉजी मेक्स communication speedier. And hence e-governance will reduce time. E-governance will reduce time taken. ठीक है, I will not elaborate on the other points now, you understand. Second is cost reduction. Third is transparency. Fourth is accountability. Fifth is convenience. Convenience in the sense that a person can be sitting on his own bed or sofa and still access to everything without being physically present, right? Next is improved customer service. Next point, increased access to information. Next point is interoperability. इसमें एक लाइन लिख लो, several works done from a single online portal. Next point is reduces corruption. Last point is no geographical barrier. ठीक है, so geographical barrier also we had always seen that northeast में facilities नहीं पहुंच पा रही हैं, mainland या hinterland में better facilities हैं. Also the focus and all these things were different. So since everybody is accessing the same information from any part of the country, we can expect equality in terms of service and goods delivery. Now it comes to disadvantages or the problems that we have. क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं? डिजिटल डिवाइड, एक्सीलेंट. डिजिटल डिवाइड है एक, रूरल और अर्बन माइंडसेट, और रूरल अर्बन डिवाइड जो डिजिटल डिवाइड से आ जाता है. वेरी गुड. एनीथिंग एल्स? फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन. ओके. Yes, 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 yes. If the internet or the cellular network fails, then the entire governance will be at standstill. Unemployment, e-governance है, हाँ ठीक है. Illiteracy, या digital lack of digital literacy, yes, correct. ठीक है, लिख लो थोड़े बहुत points. First is lack of internet penetration. Lack of internet penetration. Only 20 crore people, only 20 crore people, which is less than 10% of the total population, अच्छा नहीं, हाँ नहीं, 20, only 20 crore people have access to actually almost 10%, because अब नए सेंसस में हो ही जाएगा 200 करोड़. 20 crore have access to internet facilities, which also further leads to a digital divide. Okay. So obviously the people who have internet penetration, who have these internet facilities, will be able to use and access the government services, and the ones who do not have will not be able to do that. So again a divide will be there. So we have already a lot of divisions in terms of rural urban dichotomy, educated uneducated. So this will be a new divide, the digital divide, with the people who have access to these internet facilities or digital facilities and the ones who do not have. So which again is a drawback, right? Second is low digital literacy in India, very low digital literacy in India. Very low digital literacy in India. Expand कर लेना इसको. Third is issue of privacy and lack of a strong cyber security architecture, and lack of a strong cyber security architecture. So obviously through e-governance we'll be transmitting a lot of personal data on online portals, which could be accessed by several government departments, leaked by several government departments, misused by anybody, okay, which is a major problem, which is something we are battling with Aadhaar at the moment, right? The whole idea of Aadhaar and right to privacy comes into picture because there is a very weak cyber security architecture. The data can be leaked at any point of time. It has been done previously. The Punjab government by mistake had released the Aadhaar data of more than 20,000 people, okay, and despite the fact of such stringent measures that they take, somehow people with photograph of dogs and names like Tommy Singh, such kinds of Aadhaar cards are generated, right? How does it happen? Nobody realized. So there is a very strong problem in the cyber security infrastructure, especially when we compete at global levels. There could be a cyber warfare, right, tomorrow in the future, and such things could be misused against India. Likho next point up. Technical standard. Requirement of इसी के अंदर है technical standard में, requirement of high quality systems and softwares. Requirement of high quality systems and softwares, which would be a challenge. And last and the most important point, use of local language. Use of local language. In India, diverse languages are spoken. Diverse languages are spoken. And therefore, English may not be understood. English or Hindi also. English or Hindi may not be understood by everyone. English or Hindi may not be understood by everyone. Agreed. So this would be a big problem in rural areas, in South India, in Northeast, where people are very accustomed to speaking their own languages, right? And they don't know either English or Hindi. So either create it in all languages under the 8th schedule, so which again is a big task. Okay, so we are done with most of the portions of governance which I was supposed to take. After this, there are certain areas like vulnerable section, health and education, which somebody else will be taking. I will meet you again, most likely for ethics. Okay, and we'll be doing the theory portion, which will be definitely more interesting than what we had studied in these classes. So thank you guys. आऊँगा दोबारा आऊँगा. Ethics. Last lecture of governance. बहुत खुश हो रहा है. Thank you.